Hello, I'm Brad Burrow,
And I'm David Jackson.
and this is the Digital Disruptors Podcast. So thanks for joining us today. We want to talk a little bit about how marketing is shifting, and there's a lot of things happening. I mean, everything is changing, it seems like, daily. And David, we're going to talk about this, but
Yeah.
you've got LSAs happening right now. I'd love to talk about that a little bit and explain to our audience actually what that means. Facebook ads are I thought Facebook was dead, man.
Oh, man, it's
But
coming
that's
back with
changing.
a vengeance.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and amazing. Google ads are changing. And then you've got Google, who on the search side really doesn't want to send you to a website. They want to give you all the answers right there in the browser.
That's where it's going.
So yeah, talk about some of those things. I mean, what's your impression of what's happening right now?
Yeah, so digital marketing, I like to say that another tidal wave is coming our way. And, you either stand on the beach and get, smacked by the waves, or
Yeah.
you get your surfboard out and ride it. That's really
Yeah.
what we're seeing right now. So, you mentioned LSAs. Like that for a lot of small business owners used to be kind of a silver bullet. It was a great way to get leads very early, regardless of the business size that you are. So you could be a brand new business that just started that barely has any reviews. You can get on Google LSA, which stands for Local Service Ads,
Okay.
and it would send you leads. And the way LSA works, it's kind of like Angie, except the quality is much better, in my opinion. You only pay when you get a lead. So if someone calls or if someone sends you a message, that's when you pay, but you don't pay to be shown at the top of Google, and you don't pay for, clicks or impressions. You only pay when someone actually has an intent to work with you.
Yeah.
So for a lot of businesses, it's like, well, this is low risk. I can set this up pretty quickly, and the barrier to entry is very low. But that's also a problem because
Everybody can
everyone
do
wanted
it.
to do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's exactly what's happened. So
Yeah.
LSA has gotten completely flooded, and we used to tell our clients, hey, get on LSA. That's, a great way to start getting some initial leads. And it does still work, right? But if you're in a competitive industry like home services,
Roofing and
everyone has an LSA.
Yeah.
The guy with the one guy in a truck has it, all the way up to the 100 technician strong company, they have it. And there's only a limited amount of people that need the job on any given day. And so how does Google know who to give it to? And there's different things that they look at in the algorithm. They're looking at, how recently was your last review? They're looking at different things. But all in all, there's only a finite amount of people that to go around.
Yeah.
But there are so many people getting on LSA every day. So it's hard because, we have, some of our clients even, they're not seeing the results they once did from LSA.
yeah.
And so that's changed a lot. Google Ads, very similar. Google Ads is a bidding war. So you have to bid as much, if not more, than someone else is willing to pay to show up higher. And so, of course, here come the franchises. Here come the big,
They have the resources
big
to make sure
boys.
they're up there.
Yeah, and if you can't compete on price, then you're priced out. And that's happened in a lot of industries, and it's just continuing to happen more and more. And so the question is, what is the strategy? Like, if
Yeah.
Google's not prioritizing the main websites anymore, what's the strategy? And what I've said, even on this podcast in previous episodes, and what you've talked about too, people have to embrace video content.
Music to my ears. Sorry.
Yeah.
Couldn't help myself. But yeah,
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit. I mean, because, everybody, I think, knows that they at least, I think most people know they at least have some sort of video presence. But
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Facebook and the whole ad leading to a VSL approach, and, that seems fairly new to me.
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing lots of companies saying, we'll do your VSL for it, and that's obviously something that's working. But talk about why that's happening.
So there's two things going on there. One is people are prioritizing VSLs because VSL, as well as video in general, is one of the strongest ways to build trust. Now, a VSL is not something that you need for every industry, but an industry that is high ticket and likely requires a long-term relationship, a VSL is going to help you build that trust when you first encounter and when you first make an impression on that potential prospect. So let's say I'm scrolling through Facebook and I have a problem, or I've been thinking about a problem at work. We can't go in straight for the kill. It's like going in for a kiss on the first date.
Yeah.
You know, if that date hasn't gone well and they've only, you only known them for like 5 minutes, you're not going to go in for a kiss.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you are positioning yourself as, I understand what's going on. I've done this. Here are my credentials. Click this, and I'm going to show you how to solve that problem that you are facing now.
Yeah.
They click through on Facebook, and someone, what's going on in their head is, I'm not ready to make a decision, because people on Facebook are rarely ready to make a buying decision. It's very rare. They're relaxing. They're at home. Netflix is playing and they're not paying attention to it because they're scrolling on their phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're not really in that buying mode. And so you just want to give them more information and help them feel like you have the answer. And that's where VSL shines. So they click through, they go to a landing page that has your VSL. And VSL, which stands for Video Sales Letter, it's about an 8 to 10, 12, maybe even 15-minute video. And that video is you or someone else walking through your entire process of how you can solve that problem for that prospect. And it's great because they get an introduction to you, they see your expertise, they see case studies, and then they see exactly how you're going to solve that problem. And it's backed up by, the case studies.
Yeah.
So someone who has watched the VSL and clicked on the ad, they're very warmed up because they've been thinking about this for a while. Then they finally have the answer. And it's kind of like this aha moment happens in their head.
Yeah. You had me at hello.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So they're really a qualified lead at that point.
Yeah.
Why is Facebook the platform that this is happening on so much? That's one of the questions I've had about it. Because, I guess you could do the same thing on Instagram, obviously, and maybe TikTok. But the whole idea is that you catch somebody's attention and get them to a landing page, right?
That's right. And, Facebook and Instagram, they'll kind of fall under the same category.
Yeah.
And the reason why people are choosing, Meta as a platform to do this is because of their targeting. Now, you talked about how you're starting to see on your Facebook, all of these people saying, oh, I'll do your VSL, I'll do it. Well, that's primarily because you've shown interest in making a VSL, as we've talked over the last few weeks, and they are they're targeting you because they know what your interests are. So it may sound creepy, but Meta knows everything about us.
Yeah.
They know what we had for breakfast. They know what we've been researching. They know what we've done, and they do it for advertising. So what you're doing when you get on those platforms is you're tapping into people and what they care about. They're really great at targeting, and on some people they have, we're talking 15 plus years of data on certain individuals, which is crazy. But their targeting, in my opinion, is second to none. You can be on there, and if someone, like, let's say you have, I was watching an infomercial the other day, and I haven't seen an infomercial in a very long time, but I love them.
Yeah.
They're great. There's always the beginning where there's like a black and white shot of someone's doing it wrong and they're falling over themselves. But they had one, it was for a it was a fan that you clip on your pants and it blows air into your shirt.
Oh.
And it was like, stay cool in the summer, and everyone loved it in the ad. You could be looking for that and be like, have a certain, I'm looking for people who are sweaty and they're hot and they're, they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And Facebook will somehow get your ad in front of those exact people who are most interested in buying that. And it's really something. It's really something.
And Facebook is affordable.
Yeah.
Right? It used to be anyway. I don't know about today, but can you talk about that? It seems like a very viable way to spend your budget, your ad budget.
Yeah, it is. Like Facebook is probably the easiest or the least expensive platform to get in front of the greatest amount of people. I mean, sometimes impressions are pennies.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes clicks are, pennies to $1. It depends on the industry you're in and your audience size.
You don't see
But-
that on Google.
Oh, no,
On
not
Google
at all.
Ads for sure, huh?
And with Google Ads also, Google Ads is not very visual. I mean, you can run banner ads and things like that, but as far as running a video, really your best options are going to be Meta and then YouTube.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to get your content, your video, your brand, and then you yourself or whoever your representative is. It's a great way to get in front of those people with your message and make that brand impression. So, but in order to do that, you need video content.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes us back to what we were talking about before. So, the video that you need, you have to just be compelling enough and understand understand the problem and understand what people need. But you put that out there, but it doesn't necessarily stop at the ad. And that's a strategy that, we'll kind of dive into a little bit. Because I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about on the video side? So it's like building trust.
Mm-hmm.
So having the owner of the business or, somebody that the audience is going to trust talking about that product or service is really critical.
It is because trust is really the number one thing we're talking about here. I mentioned, or we mentioned before, just so many people are coming into your space. So many people are coming into home services, consulting, real estate. I mean, every day there's more people getting into business.
Right.
There's actually a stat. It's called it's 440,000 stat, and it's something that I was kind of excited to talk about here.
Yeah.
Basically, I believe it was 2023, there were 440,000 businesses started in the United States every month.
Yeah.
And that's roughly 5.5 million new LLCs filed for the year.
Wow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But what that tells us is every day new competition is moving into your space. Now, not everyone is going to be successful, and not everyone is going to, do well even if they happen to sustain.
Right.
But a percentage of them will. And those are the same people competing for your customers. So what do you do? What do you do?
Right.
You have to really get focused and you have to do things differently. And the easiest way to do that is to do video content, but you have to also build trust, because from a customer's perspective, they're sitting here thinking, okay, I need my chimney cleaned or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And they're thinking, there's like 50 people who can do this.
Right.
How do I know who to choose? What do I pick? Where do I go? Like, there's just all of this stuff. But if you are the one, or maybe you can count on one hand how many are probably putting out video content. If you are one of those who resonates with them and builds trust and provides education on what they should avoid, what they should pay, answer all of their questions, you're bringing that anxiety down that person has, and they're much more likely to go with your company.
One of the things you talked about is how a lot of business owners aren't willing to be on camera.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the trust factor, though, right?
It's true. I've heard that for years. I don't want to be on camera, or we'll get some young kid to do it, or we'll do that. And you can get someone else to do it.
Yeah.
But not everyone is in that position to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to really get on camera because as a business owner, you probably know the most about your industry.
Right.
But not only the most about your industry, but your unique point of view on your industry. Because ChatGPT can fake your information about your industry.
Yeah.
I mean, people can just get it from that. But when it comes to your point of view, your procedure, how you see it and how you handle it, no one can fake that. And you have to be able to get on camera and explain that to the audience, because if you're doing that and the competition isn't, they're going to be much more likely to trust you.
We just had Coulter on the podcast. He's got a roofing company.
Yeah.
And a little shout out to him.
Yeah, he's great.
But he's done a good job of that.
Yeah, he has.
Where he's putting content in it. Now it is on his phone, and people ask me this all the time. Are you against people putting stuff on, using their phone? Well, no, I think it's a really good tool, but it's not a tool that covers everything when it comes to
Yeah,
video.
it's true.
It's good for some things. But, he'll be on a roof and, here's the hail damage we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And he's embraced that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he's seeing some benefits because of that.
He is, because one thing that happens that's pretty important is if you put out consistent content, because when you put out video content, not everything has to be an ad. Not everything has to be, trying to promote yourself. And that actually works to your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You should put out content that educates people in your industry, because you look like an expert. You're helping people avoid problems in the future. But the reason why Meta is also very special is because if you put out content, let's say you put out 8 videos over the course of, 2 months, one a week. If you go back in and look, and I'm sorry, you posted those to Meta, like your
Right.
Facebook.
Right.
You can go back and look at the stats of how those videos performed. You go back to look at how the stats of those videos performed, and you can see which video is the most viewed. Well, how many views they get on this one. This one seemed to do really well.
Yeah.
Facebook allows you to take that audience, the people who watch that video, and actually turn them into an audience that you can advertise against. So it's like, okay, I'm going to run an ad to the people that watch this video to completion.
Yeah.
Those people are so much more warmed up because they already know who you are. They were educated on this particular thing, and now you're running an ad to them. And this ad could be a lead magnet, a checklist, or something else, but you're not just running it cold. You're running it to people who already are like, okay, well, this guy's cool. If someone engages on that ad, you already know, oh, well, they already, they're warmed up because they know they watched the video to completion. They've watched all of these other videos to completion too, and they're engaging with me in the lead magnet. You can then take another audience and say, I want to target all of the people who actually have gotten this lead magnet from me, run a third ad that says, let's have a consultation. If people do that, they're pretty much going to work with you.
Yeah.
Because you're not just blasting this out like TV or a billboard. You're specifically making ads for people who know who you are, and you're just continually building that trust.
Yeah. One of the things about the VSL approach too that I thought was very interesting is the length.
Mm-hmm.
We've preached for years that the content length needs to be shorter and shorter because you've got TikTok and people scrolling through, and it's got to be short. That kind of goes against that.
Yeah.
It's like when you say 8 to 15 minutes long for a VSL,
Mm-hmm.
that seems why is that work? I guess that's my question, because it feels like, man, that's awful long.
Well, you can kind of think of a VSL as if you were sitting down for a consultation. It's almost like a preview of the consultation. And, imagine if you went to go work with someone and they gave you a 2-minute consultation.
Yeah.
Or even a 30-second consultation. Right. You'd kind of sit there like, what the heck? What's going on?
Right.
But you covered even if you covered all of the main points in that 30-second to 2-minute video, a short, so to speak, they'd still be thinking, is that it? Like, that's the secret that's going to help me solve this pain?
Yeah.
People that have that pain point are willing to invest a lot of time into research and solving it. I mean, you can almost guarantee that the person that stumbles onto your VSL has tried to solve this problem for themselves before.
Yeah.
And they have spent hours and probably thousands of dollars trying to fix this problem in other ways. So what's another 8 to 14 minutes? I just spent 2 hours staying up past midnight trying to fix this problem myself.
Yeah.
For months, and I've gotten the same results. So I'll take 8 to 15 minutes to figure this out.
Yeah.
And just one thing to close that out, it's a lot easier, or it gives them everything they need to know. Like you're not rushing, you're guiding them through, you're doing it in a way that everything is digestible. I mean, there are some VSLs that are 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Some of them are extremely long, but people are engaged. People want to know. People are like, this is the answer. I'm compelled. I want to fix this problem, I will watch this.
Yeah. You and I have talked a lot about this, but the content of a VSL, discussing kind of the flow and, that approach. Can you talk about that a little bit? It's like, our VSL, it's like you're here because you have this pain.
Yeah.
We understand it. We've fixed this for other people.
Yep.
We've had great success fixing this pain. And here's some examples of how we did that. Here's how we're going to take you through that same process. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. There are different ways to kind of formulate a VSL, but the one that I found that works pretty well, at least for us, is you always start off with it's kind of like a guarantee or an intro. So you're saying, okay, in this video, let me show you what to expect. I'm going to show you how, like for instance with ours, I'm going to show you how to increase your patient acquisition using a system that scales with you in 90 days, or something like that. And then you get into, okay, well, who are you? Why should I listen to you? So you're getting into the intro about yourself, your career, your background, etc. After that, you kind of agitate the pain a little more. Here's the problem. You're doing this, and
so you're hitting that a couple times in the VSL then.
Yeah, it's definitely, you just want to make sure that the audience knows that you understand the pain, and then be agitated a little more, because they're all things that they're thinking of in their head.
Right.
I know that if I let this linger, this is going to happen. Or I think this feeling that I have about not solving this is negative. And when you push on that just a little, you're not shaming anybody, but you're telling them like, this is the time to get this done.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, not next week. This is the time. So you touch on that a little more. Like one thing that's interesting, when we ran our first ad for dentists, when it comes to downloading our Google Business Profile Checklist, I would say 70%, which is crazy, 70% of those dentists downloaded that file after 11 p.m.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what that tells me, it's like,
wow,
you're staying up trying to do this and figure this out.
Yeah.
And so that I use that data to then write my VSL and say, I had ChatGPT generate.
You up is it 11 o'clock and you're watching this video?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I had ChatGPT generate a picture of a dentist who looks stressed, and he's on his computer, and it's night. It's like after midnight. And but it's like, have you been in this situation? Are you in the situation right now? So that's it's funny because that's a lot of people, they're trying to do it themselves. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to make it happen. So you do want to touch on that a little bit in the VSL, but then you can get right into how you do it. So usually you present this in steps. Step one, it's step one. And I named it step one, awareness. In awareness, blah, 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 blah. Step two, research. During research, blah, blah, blah. And so you go through each of those, and that's where the majority of your time will be spent in the VSL.
Yeah.
But then after you've gotten through all of that, you paint a picture. You talk about case studies. So that approach that we just talked about worked for this person, did this. After you've gone through your case studies, you can then get into imagine. So you're painting a picture. Imagine not having to worry about this, or imagine your chairs are now full. You don't have all of these gaps in your calendar. So you're painting that picture. And then after you paint that picture, you just do a final call to action. So, stop wasting time and money doing this backwards.
Yeah.
Or stop wasting money on tactics that haven't worked since 2021. Things like that.
Yeah.
And you give them that call to action, and always make sure you tell them, we want to do this for you. We'd like to implement this in your business. Click below to book a call. That format is very successful. And as I mentioned before, there are many different ways to do this format, but that's the one that we found to be the most successful.
Yeah. What do you see coming in the future? Can you predict that?
when it just comes to,
just digital marketing in general, it's really, for a small business owner, it's overwhelming. You think about, and we're sort of in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's changing daily.
Everyone has to start producing video content right now. I mean, it's non-negotiable, I believe, because that is where, like, so you're going to have people that still use traditional Google SERPs, which is search engine results page. So all of the organic results.
I mean, that can't just go away. I mean, that's
Yeah.
got to be a huge moneymaker for Google. They can't just let those people.
Well, the bigger is, it might not yet, because the bigger moneymaker is keeping them in the search engine. Because if Google keeps someone in the search engine through AI mode, through overviews, et cetera, without them going to a site,
Yeah.
they make the most money there because they can serve more ads. They can't serve ads on your website. Like if someone uses, I
Well,
mean, they'll serve ads initially when someone searches there's Google ads, right?
Yeah.
For the impression. But as soon as someone clicks on the site, they're done. But let's say, and this hasn't happened yet, but I can see it happening in the future. Let's say that someone is in AI mode and they're using it and they're clicking around. You engage, and we, I don't think you may not have seen AI mode. I got to use it, and it's out. It got released last week.
Yeah,
it's
I saw
rolling
it.
out to different people.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I think as they continue to improve it and people engage with AI mode, it keeps you in the search engine. I think they'll continue to serve ads. So it's in Google's best interest to keep someone on Google.
Yeah.
Google is becoming more of an answer engine rather than a search engine. Facebook's the same way. They want to keep you on Facebook. YouTube, they want to keep you on YouTube. And so they're kind of consolidating in a way. As far as the future, I think that we talked about this on a previous podcast with Isaac Wambua. You want to think about, okay, what's the main thing when it comes to customers? Customers are going to have problems. They're going to have questions. They're going to have issues. And there is a growing number of businesses that are starting every day. So what can you do to stand out? You have to build trust, because people do business with other individuals that they know, like, and trust. They're going to know you by getting on these platforms, Meta, YouTube, etc., because those are where people are the most likely to find you. They'll like you if you present really interesting information. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's outside of the box. You're not just standing there like a board talking.
Yeah.
Today we're going to, you're not doing anything like that. And then trust. Trust comes from you educating that person and really being interested in helping that person through video over time. That builds, of course, you have your reviews on Google, you have all of your stuff that builds, but if someone has been educated by you enough, they will reach out. They will absolutely reach out just to talk to you.
And the authentic side of it is so important these days, right? I mean,
yeah, very important.
People know when they're being sold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting because the younger generation is that generation that consumes content, video content on a daily, if not hourly basis. And you still have people that will use Google in the traditional sense, skip the ads, do things traditionally. But a day is coming where the majority of the buyers will have grown up with the TikToks, with the YouTube shorts, and the way they make decisions is completely different. So we have to adapt to those times, and producing video content is best way to get started.
Yeah. TikTok, and then I want to wrap up, but talk about TikTok just a little bit.
Yeah.
I know on our podcast, so we put out stuff on TikTok, the shorts and stuff, and they've performed amazingly well.
Yeah.
I'm almost shocked at how many views we're getting and likes and people following us and commenting and stuff like that, which is really cool.
That is cool.
And you talk about, the Facebook algorithm, but the TikTok algorithm for serving up content is pretty amazing. Do you think that, brands need to have a presence there as well? Can it just be Facebook and Meta and Instagram, together, or does it need to be hitting all the channels?
I think it really depends on just how competitive you really want to be.
Yeah.
Because the answer is yes, you should be. The number one goal for businesses when it comes to the future is going to be they should stop. And I didn't coin this, so someone else coined it. But instead of being a business owner let me reverse. Instead of being a painter who happens to create content, they should be a content creator who happens to also be a painter. That's I may
Different
have
mindset.
I may have butchered that, but that's essentially the thing. You have to think about putting out content, but oh, I happen to be this great painter, but I'm putting out content.
Yeah.
And the goal when it comes to thinking like that is I create content and I get as many people to see it as possible. And with that mindset, it's like, okay, here it goes on Meta, Facebook and Instagram. Now, okay, it goes over here on YouTube. So YouTube and YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
It's going over here on TikTok. You just want people to see it because it's building your brand and it's building your trust. And it's marketing. A lot of people know about me. So they may not have, like Google was solely focused, like a lot of people are like SEO, 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 because it's primarily focused on people who are ready to buy right now. Like Google is bottom funnel platform.
Yeah.
You know, I have a need, I need to solve it within either today or within the next week. I'm going to Google, but you're leaving out a huge market of people who may not be ready now, but they'll be ready in the future.
Right.
And if you put that video content out there and it's circulating, it's the best way to clone yourself. You know, you're out there, your videos are working nonstop around the clock on all of these platforms, and they're catering to those people that do have a need later. So you don't want to exclude that, and so many companies do.
You think about the idea behind marketing and impressions and things like that. No longer is it a thing that you can go out and just do a billboard and, that's one of our impressions right there. It's or a TV spot.
Yeah.
Now your impressions are going to come right there on the phone.
Yeah, and it's a lot more measurable too when it's digital because A, the source, B, how many specific impressions you made. If someone converts from digital marketing, you 100% know where they came from and what happened. So it's just more scalable. But yeah, like I mentioned before, video is the start. Like I think that business owners need to start getting comfortable with being on camera, and they should partner with someone who actually knows how to get it done for them.
One of the things that this quick little story and then we'll close. But I remember when we were thinking about starting to do podcasting. So I'm like, well, I need to learn this whole process. So I'm just going to do my own podcast.
Yeah.
And it was a faith-based podcast, but I was so nervous the first time. And, we did 100 episodes on that podcast.
Wow.
So, by the end, it's like, you don't even think about all the other stuff. So, it's like encouraging business owners to just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. You may not be as good at it when you start, but if you just do it, you're going to get better and better. And people are, as long as you're authentic, they don't care.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that too. How do you convince, business owners to, how do you convince them to like take that first step, especially into like a higher production video project?
Yeah. I think it's giving them like, we'll even bring people in and let them like kind of audition. It's not really an audition, but when you get around the lights and the cameras and the crews and all those things, it tends to add to the level of anxiety.
Yeah.
So you just got to do it and you get used to it. Your mind gets used to it. And then once you kind of get past all of that, then you can kind of settle in.
Yeah.
And, even teleprompters help with things like that, so you're not having to remember what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Those types of things. There's a talent to reading a teleprompter too as well. But, I think the more that you can get used to something, and the only way, it's just like you want to be a golfer.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be a golfer. Well, you can go out and have the best clubs and go out and never have swung a golf club before, and you're not going to be very good at it.
Yeah.
But if you go to the driving range and you work on it and you do it over and over, eventually you're going to get a lot better at it. Well, it's the same thing, but you just have to do it.
Yeah, you have to start. You have to dip your toe in that water. It might feel cold at first, but eventually you're like, oh, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get good at it and you're comfortable with it. And that's where the good stuff comes from when you're authentic. And, that's why I like podcasts so much, because you can just have a conversation and people get to see your real personality. And that's powerful. I think why podcasts are so popular right now.
It is very powerful, and it's easy. It's easy for people to kind of get comfortable into starting with video content. Like podcasting, it kind of, takes care of a lot of things at once.
It does.
It helps with people who are camera shy and not just by themselves. They're having a conversation. They're being asked about their business, and they're asking questions. It's a conversation you normally have, like at the dinner table, except you're doing it and you're just recording it.
We just have cameras and lights around.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're into the conversation, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic is. So, business owners, they have to start producing video content. Podcasting is a great way to do that. But people are always nervous about, I don't know where to start. I want it to be this. And I always tell people, go to your favorite YouTuber's YouTube channel, click videos, the videos tab, and then sort by oldest. And look at the videos that they produced when they first started. Yeah. It's not going to be perfect, but to your point, you just have to start.
Yeah. You just got to do it, and then you'll learn and grow.
That's right.
That's exactly right. Well, I want to tell everybody, like, we're going to have a lot more content coming out. I want to get more into the whole VSL idea in future podcasts, the Facebook side of it. And I really am interested in TikTok too.
Yeah.
I've seen us have so much success on TikTok that, and without spending $1.
Yeah.
And we're getting great traction there. So I think that's a powerful thing that we can get into more. So
absolutely,
be sure to subscribe to the Digital Disruptors podcast. Share it. We want to send in some questions. I mean, if we have questions that David is the expert on the digital marketing side. I'm just kind of here as his sidekick. I'm like, you're Batman and I'm Robin, man. So, but we want to dive into this stuff, and we want to learn. I want to learn, honestly, and I think this is a great place to do that. So be sure to subscribe, share this, tell people about what we're trying to accomplish here on Digital Disruptors, and we look forward to bringing a whole bunch more new content to you moving forward.
Take care, everyone.